I always have to explain to people that I was a 10 times better baseball player than I was a basketball player. Yeah, the main channel is hoops, 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 so people assume that I used to be like this god tier type hooper, and when I was younger, I did have my moments, but I really was the man on the diamond. Play middle infield, a lot of shortstop, a lot of second base in my time, and the time frame we're talking about, I'm talking when I was the age of 11 and 12, I was turning unassisted double plays. Like, the glove is where I really made my money, you know what I'm saying? Gold glover out there, but I also led off. Sometimes in the two hole, a lot of speed, still in second, still in third, things like I really was legitimately decent back then. And I know everybody says stuff like that, right? Because you have this weird perception of yourself. So even if I wasn't really great at it, maybe because it was 12 years ago, in my mind I was really solid, but I could talk to anybody that watched me play back then and they will say, you were actually that man. Like, when I got to high school, I completely stopped playing baseball. And that was one thing that I did regret, but if I continue to play baseball, maybe I don't start the KLT for a Q channel about basketball. So, there's a rabbit hole you can go down, but until I got to high school, I was really nice. And when I was playing, that was before the iPhone ages, before every phone had a camera, so I don't have like a ton of footage of me playing baseball as a shorty, but I do have stories. I mentioned this before, but I played against Jackie Robinson West when I was in Little League. Some of y'all like, who is Jackie Robinson West? Come on, dawg. Jackie Robinson West was the best Little League organization team in all of Illinois. Back in 2014, they won the United States Little League World Series, ended up losing to South Korea. I know there's some controversy around that. I think they actually got that award revoked because they was doing some maybe some shady shenanigans or whatever. But all you really need to know, whether it was shady or not, they had a god squad of baseball players. The best of the best in the entire state went to play for Jackie Robinson West. And I had to pitch against them. I didn't just play against them. I had to pitch against them when I was a shorty. Now, when I played against them, it was 2009. They ended up winning the Little League World Series in 2014. So it was a 5-year gap. But still, even in that time, people knew Jackie Robinson West as being the team to beat. So Little League travel was like between the age of 10 and 12. And I think when I played against them in 2009, they would make me 11 going on 12 or something like that. And before that, I had never played for a travel team in my life. It was always Park District, right? I went to Amherst Park 3 times a week for practice. And then on Saturdays, that's when games were. But they had the idea of, let's get the best players from this Park District and put together the travel team, and let's go play against other travel teams. It's a good idea. Our very first game as a travel team is against Jackie Robinson West. And even then, at the age of 11 or 12, I knew that Jackie Robinson West was the real deal. And even if you didn't know that beforehand, once you got to their field, you realized that, oh, this is a little bit different than Amherst Park. Amherst Park, we had no people taking care of the dirt on the field. The grass was rarely cut. It was a little shady. You get to Jackie Robinson West field, it's all nice. The dirt is like slidable. You ain't got to worry about broken glass when you slide. And for the first time in my life, I'm playing in a field that has a home run fence. I had never seen a home run fence before. And I got to pitch against the best players in the state. These boys got power. I don't want to give up a home run. So since it was 2009 and I was so young, I called up my dad to ask him what he remembered about the whole thing, because my dad was actually the coach. Him and my godfather were the coaches behind the things. Shout out to Pops. And he said he knew this was about to be a different beast. Not because of the home run fence, but because they had a PA announcer. We ain't never had somebody say, coming up to the plate, first time leading off, Kenny beats him. We ain't never had that before. And going against Jackie Robinson West, that was a normal occurrence. They had custom bags with names and numbers on. And I know that's probably normal to you if you play travel baseball. But then, us coming from where we came from, that was a whole foreign idea. It was completely new to us. So again, we knew and we were about to be in for a good battle. And who was on the mound for the very first game of travel against the best team in the state? It was me. Now, I wasn't necessarily known as this great pitcher back in the day, but one thing you can count on for me is that I was going to throw strikes. I very rarely walked anybody. I was like, let me rely on my defense to make things work. And y'all know at the age of 11 and 12, there's a ton of errors. There's a ton of errors in the field like that. But I knew how to throw strikes. I remember this is a little bit of a tangent, but while we talking about me as a pitcher, my godfather T, he pitched back in his day. He knew how to throw a curve. He knew how to throw a slider. And I remember him teaching me how to throw a slider. I don't remember if this was before these years of playing against Jackie Robinson West or after this, but I can still remember mechanically how I threw a slider. And I wasn't breaking the slider like I was Jacob deGrom or anything, but I had a little bit of break to it. And it was fun to throw it, to see it, slide. So let me bring some of the pictures, because we do have pictures of this game. Here's me on the mound. This is during warm-ups. As you can see, my shortstop is not even paying attention. This better be doing warm-ups. And in the back, you can see Jackie Robinson West, and you can see how nice the field is. I mean, I would probably have to pull up a picture of what we used to play on, but nice the field is and everything. And you can kind of tell that there's a difference between my shirt/jersey versus my shortstop. We didn't have a ton of funds. One thing I can say about Pops is that when he saw I was interested in something, he took initiative to make sure I had the best experience. So if I'm not mistaken, Pops funded the travel team. But we also didn't have enough jerseys for all of us to actually have the same jersey. So for me, I think I'm playing, I have a Lugnuts shirt on, and here's another picture of me. Every picture you ever see of me, I'm probably going to have my eyes closed. And then some of the other players on the team had Cincinnati Reds shirts on. You know what I'm saying? And we had the same color. We knew we were teammates based on color coordination. My whole thing when I wanted to go into this game was to throw strikes and just rely, because I have to keep reminding myself that this was the best of the Park District, right? So yeah, there'll probably be a decent amount of errors, but it's going to be less than what I'm used to, because this is the second best shortstop in all of the park. And I say second because, you understand. What do you think? Did Jackie Robinson West destroy me while I was on the mound? In my mind, when I look back on this game, I thought that they did. But that's how, how crazy things can be, and how you can mess up memories, how you can implant memories. Because in my mind, I think I even tweeted about this before, when I played against Jackie Robinson West, I gave up like 7 runs. But when I called my dad, he said I pitched a good game. And I know you could be like, oh, this is your pops telling you because he's your pops. But he wouldn't lie. My dad wouldn't lie to me. If I had a bad game, he would let you know you had a bad game. It's okay. It's the best team in the whole state. But when I talked to him, he said I pitched a really solid game. I was on the mound. We were playing, I don't remember if it was 6 or 7 innings, but I didn't pitch a complete game. I wasn't that nice with it. But he said I only gave up like 3 runs. And 3 runs, it's like I basically threw a perfect game against them. That's what I'm telling people. I threw the closest thing known as a perfect game against Jackie Robinson West. That's how crazy them boys were with the bat. So shout out to me. But one thing I do remember is my appearances at the plate. I don't remember how I was as a pitcher completely, but when I was at the plate, I vividly remember that this is the first time in my life I saw anything other than fastball, 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 fastball. At the Park District, people weren't throwing curves or sliders or changeups, but here they were. And it definitely was an adjustment period. Pops remember me going 3 for 4, but I think I actually went 2 for 3 because I know for sure I walked once in this game. But the first at bat, I struck out. I led off and I struck out because I was so confused that this ball was coming in differently than I've ever seen it before. So I took some time and I adjusted. Second at bat, that's when I drew my walk. And then here's the picture of me scoring from my second at bat. I remember me stealing second and stealing third. And then I don't remember if it was an overthrow on the third base what led me to come home, or a grounder to like first base. Regardless, I ended up scoring off my walk, which is pretty solid. One thing I did know is that I don't care who's behind the backstop. I had wheels, and it was nobody that was gonna throw me out. I don't remember a single time in my life that I've been thrown out trying to steal a base, ever. I was a young Ricky Henderson out there. Nobody was catching me on the base pads. And then the other 2 at-bats were single. I was never known as a power guy. It's my speed and my lack of power were one of the reasons why I let off or batted second. You know what I'm saying? I knew how to make very good contact, find the gaps in the infield, and maybe a little blooper over the shortstop's head. But I couldn't, I don't think I've ever hit a home run in my entire life. I've had some inside the park home runs that now looking back on is probably heavily error related. Because again, you're a shorty and nobody can throw. So I turn a single to a home run because nobody can throw you out. But single, cool. And as crazy as it sounds, my actual biggest memory about this whole day, the shortstop right here, if I'm not mistaken, his name was Ronald. The guy who's playing shortstop and then he turned around, yada, yada. He was my relief once it was time for me to get done. The very first pitch that he threw in relief was like a line drive straight to him. Like, could have ended this boy life type of line drive. And he caught it. And I was like, oh my God, Rondo got the gold glove too. I understand why he's on this travel team, because he was that nice with the glove. It's cool to look back on these memories, man. A lot of these people that was on these teams, I don't even remember the names of these people. I don't know where they are. I remember one guy here, he was my catcher for years, not just during this travel team. Oscar was my catcher for years. And he had a arm on him. He definitely had an arm on him. So you're asking, how did it end up going? Did you guys end up with the victory and beating Jackie Robinson West? Nah. Pop said the final score was about 7-5, a close game, but still we didn't actually do it. But I could definitely see us leaving this game with a lot of confidence. I actually remember any other travel game. This game was so significant because it was Jackie Robinson West. We actually took a big old picture of our team and their team too. For them, this is like a warm-up game before they actually start to do things. For us, this was like our World Series. You know what I'm saying? So we took a big picture, and we couldn't find it in preparation for this video. But Jackie Robinson West has produced a couple MLB players. One of them was got drafted by the Cubs last 2020, and that's Ed Howard. Obviously, we're a little bit different in age, so I didn't play against Ed. But they had a couple people on that team from 2014 to make it to the majors. I wonder how many of those boys actually went on to play college baseball. I honestly do believe if I didn't stop playing baseball, I would have been good enough to be on a college roster. I'm not saying D1, D2, or even, I don't know. I feel like I would have been good enough to get an offer somewhere for playing baseball. I mean, we recorded a couple baseball-related videos on the Through the Wire channel, and that was like the first time I had a glove on since the beginning of high school, which was 2011. My first year of high school was 2011. So in like a decade, that was my first time having a glove on and my first time swinging the bat. And it didn't come back. You know how they say stuff about like shooters in basketball? It don't matter if you drop a ball for 20 years, that shot will still be there. I didn't have that same fluidity when I was in the batter's box 10 years later. I miss it. It just so happened that once I got back to the batter's box, I tore my shoulder again. So it's gonna be some time before I'm throwing the ball around or back on the plate. But regardless, there's a story of me pitching against Jackie Robinson West. We ended up losing. I was on the mound. It was a fun day. I do miss playing baseball as a shorty. I wish I could relive a lot of those moments. But you can. You can remember them and reminisce.